Bernie,
Thanks, Steve.
thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So you brought a special guest with you today
Yes.
that is going to give us some very positive, impactful information on tourism.
Yes, absolutely. So
Yeah.
this is, I always say your last name wrong, I think, but Carmen Schramm.
Yep.
With Tourism Coalition of South Dakota. She represents the advocacy piece of tourism for South Dakota. So she's coming up on 2 years probably in the role already. Yeah. So formerly it was Visitor Industry Alliance, but especially during the legislative session, she's very busy looking out for our industry and watching any bills that might affect us and keeping us in the loop so that we can be in contact with our legislators
Okay.
and a lot more. But we're just coming off of that, so it's fresh.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you a traveler by heart, or a tourist, or what made you want to do something like this?
You know, I've been a road warrior, I think, my entire working life,
Yeah.
but except for maybe 10 years when I was at the chamber in Yankton, South Dakota.
Sure.
So yes, I kind of have lived in Angelica's world on the other side of the house with the chamber, worked with the CVBs, worked for tourism. Gosh, I don't even want to say how many years ago because it would date me, but have always been involved in the industry in one way, shape, or form. So this is just kind of a natural fit for me. And started with the organization in 2024, October 24.
Okay, so what? Tell us a little bit about what the organization does, and is this you don't work for the state?
Nope,
Right? This
nope.
is all just kind of on your own. Well, not all by yourself.
Sometimes it feels like it. Yes, no, I'm kidding. It is a nonprofit, member-driven organization, and it is strictly advocacy and awareness for the industry across the state of South Dakota. And we were created 31 years ago when the Travel South Dakota Group, Department of Tourism, was having issues with its funding. Actually, when I worked for the Department of Tourism is when Governor Janklow was challenged on the video lottery piece, and a third of our budget was cut overnight. And so every year, the tourism department had to go ask for money out of the general fund. You never knew what you were going to get. And it's really hard in the marketing world to do any kind of budgeting and planning when you don't know what you're working with.
Mhm.
And so there were lots of meetings that took place across the state with the industry saying, how do we permanently fund ourselves? And that's where the 1.5% tourism tax came from.
Mhm.
And that's what that was the first initiative that this group really, really spearheaded.
Mhm.
And since that time, what we've done during legislative session is just, again, look out for the industry. If there are bills that are introduced that are detrimental to us, we will fight them tooth and nail. We will also promote bills that we feel are really, really good for us. And those range from all sectors. I mean, from outdoor hunting and fishing guides to, exemption on advertising, on taxes with that. So every year we are following there's usually about 40 to 50 bills that we're watching that could be harmful to us or ones that could be helpful.
Wow, that's a lot to keep track of.
Well, thank goodness we have a lobbyist. So
Yeah.
I'm the liaison between the membership and the lobbyist.
Oh,
So,
very
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Well, so tell us a little bit about the impact that you've seen. You brought some info with you on tourism economic impact. Are we seeing positive impact here in South Dakota?
We are. And you bring up a good point because from the time that the department started receiving a funding source that was permanent and they knew what they were working with, our numbers have just continued to rise with the amount of money that they've had to market with. Because we don't market around to the 5 state areas around us. We market globally. I mean, we compete with with everybody. So I guess I can't stress that enough. It is a very, very huge market and very competitive. And so to see our numbers every year continue to go up, that's always very, very impressive. Now, 2025 was a interesting year, as we all know. We had the longest government shutdown ever. And we had all kinds of economic uncertainty. So when the numbers came in January, we were pleased to see any kind of an increase.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a huge increase as far as visitors were concerned, but we did have close to 15 million visitors that we welcomed in 2025. What was really interesting was we had a record spending year of a little over $5 billion in visitor spending. So
Wow.
that was substantial
Wow, in just 1 year?
in 1 year. Every year it's grown though. Every year it has grown.
Wow.
So
That sounds like an outrageous number, I think, you know?
oh right, it gets even better.
Oh yeah, that's great. And it made me think too when you were talking about the competition, and you advertise, you know, you market globally. So you're up against, you know, the Empire State Building and this and that,
Oh yeah.
and but yet that, I mean, 15 million and then 5 billion. Wow,
And
that's awesome.
it is awesome because when you think about it, we have about 60,000 jobs that are related to tourism that we track. And out of those 60,000 jobs, 1,436 are actually in Codington County.
Oh,
And so when you start drilling down into the numbers of how they affect county by county, you know, it's pretty impressive to see what's going on too in this county and the ones that are surrounding it. And so a lot of my tour is just talking about the impact that it has in every one of the 66 counties in the state of South Dakota.
mm-hmm.
So people go, well, why should I care what tourism does? You know, we see a lot of visitors, traffic gets kind of crazy sometimes, you know, they're kind of annoying. The fact is that every household that is a tax-paying household actually saves $1,121 every year because of the revenue that comes in from the industry. So you're saving money. So it's important to you. But you're in the industry. I don't know if you think of that sometimes, but you know, as a radio station,
Mm-hmm.
you know, people when they come into a town, they don't always listen to just Sirius radio. They're looking for what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
They'll go tune to their local radio stations and thank you for doing what you do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. There is a lot of, a lot of different ways people are finding information and searching out ways to, you know, if they're traveling here, where should I go? What should I do? And all of that. Do you guys have that kind of information available too on what kind of people can do while they're in South Dakota? Or it's a little bit more.
Well, we can just make sure I understand what you're saying
Mhm.
as far as how people find their information.
Yeah.
I mean, the state, if you're looking at what the state does,
Mhm.
I mean, they cover a lot of different bases, you know. I mean, they do a lot of social media. They do some really great social media.
Well, we work a lot too with the state. They have a great co-op program, so it helps our local dollars go further because they match. So whatever you submit a certain amount to participate in the program, and then they match those dollars. So our dollars are going further, and it's, you know, in different states that we might not be able to market without Travel South Dakota. And then when Carmen mentioned like globally, we had talked when I was on a few weeks ago that the girls were headed to International Roundup. Travel South Dakota does a lot with the international markets. So to be able to partner with them and partake in those things is huge.
Yeah. I'm not really sure who it is yet, but there's even some people listening in like Ireland and India, and so often I see different countries. So maybe we'll snag a visitor or something
Yeah.
from there too.
Well, the internet has changed the world considerably. When I worked for the state, there was no such thing.
Yeah.
But you know, there's other programs too, like the governor announced yesterday, you know, when he was at Mount Rushmore. The TAP grant has come back now, which is something, I don't know, did you apply for that?
We didn't. Our office didn't, but I think a few of our organizations did. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that just makes their money go further too.
Mhm.
So it's another one of those partnerships that the state does to help local dollars, the local DMOs, you know, help more them a little bit more too. But yeah, they are really good at outreach. They are really good at out of home marketing. They're really good at doing fun billboards. We don't see them because we're not the intended audience.
Sure.
And that's always a question that we hear. Well, where's the money going? We never see anything. We don't see the commercials. And well, we're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's much more direct and targeted now. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
you're going for the individuals who want to visit here.
You bring up a great point because everything is data driven. I mean, all the decisions that are made, it's very scientific now versus when you used to only have so many avenues that you could actually market through
Mhm.
versus everything that you have today.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
And
Well-
I think it's like ever changing too with
Oh,
the data
right.
and the analytics. So it's like you think you have it figured out one day, and then the next week you're doing something different.
Yeah.
Mhm. You Well, I find this hard to believe, but you had said earlier that it's even a little bit better.
Yeah.
So what were you talking about?
Well, when I talk about it gets a little bit better, the tourism activity in South Dakota generated 406 million in state and local taxes. And what's really interesting out of that, when you break it down, 220 million of that actually goes back to the local communities. So, I mean, when you drill it down that way to get to that savings for the average household, it's pretty impressive. The remainder of that amount, though, is collected by the state and goes to the state. So it really does help local economies, and that's the thing that we really want to stress. Is people may not see it, but like the activity that happens here in Watertown, everything that Angelica does benefits your community. Because if you look at it from the perspective of if you didn't have visitors coming here, what else would you not have? What restaurants wouldn't you have? What attractions wouldn't you have? Because you need that additional traveler base to be able to offer those services and amenities.
Mhm.
So don't look at tourists as something that's somewhat annoying. Look at them as people who bring other things to your community that you get the opportunity to enjoy.
Mhm.
So it's a different way of looking at it, but those trickle down dollars make a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think it all depends. I mean, that's a really positive way to look at everything as well. But depending on your community, if you live in Sturgis, the tourism is a little different there than it is here. So you can choose where you live, but I bet they get a lot of revenue from that event, like the Sturgis rally.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
instance.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, okay, if you don't want to live there and deal with that, you don't have to. But if you want to live there and have some of the extras and the little amenities that come along with that kind of revenue, then you can pick and choose, right?
Mhm.
But no, that is amazing. It just kind of makes me stop for a second. If you just stop everything and the next day there was none of that extra assistance, how much difference would people notice?
How much different will your community be?
Mm-hmm.
Question for you: where are you from, Steve? Are you from
Watertown.
South Dakota? Okay, you are from Watertown.
Mhm.
When we were doing interviews yesterday, one of the gentlemen in the radio station in Aberdeen said, "I'm from Oklahoma," and we're like, "Okay, you bring up a perfect thing." There's a thing called the halo effect of tourism, and it's everybody starts as a visitor. So if you go somewhere, you're treated great, you love the area, you love the people, you're like, this is kind of a cool place.
Mhm.
Maybe I could live here. Maybe I could send my kids to school here. Maybe I could start a business here. So we like to we like to call ourselves the front porch of economic development because it all starts with a visit. And so when you treat people nice, you never know if they're going to open a business here down the road. And we had a great story in Mitchell, South Dakota, with there's a gentleman who is the the executive director of the Mitchell Prehistoric Indigenous Archaeological Site Museum, and
Wow.
his mom came to visit from Houston, Texas, and she just happened to go through Mitchell, happened to stop at the archaeological site, and called her son and said, "You need to come see this place. It's really cool." And he's an archaeologist.
Mhm.
So she kept kind of harping on him, and finally he came and visited, and there just so happened to be a job. She moved there, he moved there, and one other person in their family moved there. So there's a perfect example of the halo effect of things that tourism can bring into the community.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I know too. We talk with Angelica from time to time about Watertown kind of being a catchment area of all these surrounding communities too, and Clear Lake, Castlewood, Clark, all those kinds of things. A lot of them come to Watertown to visit or check things out, to tour things they might not even have heard about or forgot about. Um, what what do you see for localized impact? Do you see people from smaller communities travel to places like Watertown and things like that?
Yes.
Mhm.
And we love to see that because everybody is an ambassador in our state. And so the more that people get out and move around across our state, the better prepared they are to answer questions when they run into a visitor. And not only that, but the economic impact of them coming into a market area like yours works really, really good for Codington County because you are the largest place in that, in your market area. So I also gave you some figures on surrounding counties. So, you know, if you want to dig into that later on and talk about it too. But I didn't get a chance this year to go through, but last year when I was doing these tours, there was only one county that showed a negative on the tourism impact for their county. Like I said, I haven't done that this year, so I'm not 100% sure what that looks like this year because it wasn't as big of an increase from the previous year. But all indicators for 2026 are showing that tourism and travel is going to be very big this year. We have a few small events going on. You know?
Yeah. Well, and I think you mentioned when we were talking about the people going to Watertown from a smaller community. As long as I've been in radio and stuff, I did sales earlier, and I've seen where then the people from the larger community go to the smaller communities. You know, it's like an exchange of business partnership and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's like we all help each other out.
I think so. You know, I'm not sure what your area is all like, but I know we see it in others.
Well, I think too, just like downtown revitalization across the state and the country is a big deal right now too. So people are all about these more unique experiences, or not necessarily the big places, the big bucket list places. They're kind of one off the beaten path, and I think for us, we're that. So,
and I think they're really getting more in tune to the shop local, keep it local type of thing, and that goes to part of the state's program of the Forever 605 program, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but it is about respecting the 605 state. You know, being kind and making sure that you leave it the way you find it, as well as supporting local. So that's an initiative. I don't know how many years ago the Travel South Dakota started, but it's been very popular. It's won lots of awards, and it's a sustainability program. It's intended for our locals as well as our visitors.
Yeah, you really do see how you do interviews, of course, but there's just this partnership that starts and it has to trickle down, and there's so many organizations that kind of help each other out with Travel South Dakota and Visit Watertown and all the others. Then they go to conferences and talk about stuff and hash things out. And I don't think people always realize that behind the scenes, to get that one ad that you saw in a magazine or that one you stumbled across online, you know, to get it to that point, it took hours of other things, you know, and people like you traveling hours on the road.
And people like Angelica making sure that those ads happen.
Yeah. But you were talking right after this, you're going to take a 4-hour trip or whatever. I mean, you're traveling all over, and it's really just to help, you know, benefit everyone else within the communities in the States. I mean, that's a really big deal. So I think we should appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, we want our residents in the state of South Dakota to understand the importance of this industry. We are the second largest industry in the state. And, you know, we don't say that without having the numbers to back it up either. And we just really want residents to know that we are that kind of state. We are so privileged to live in a state where people want to come and visit, because there's a lot of states that don't have, you know, the kind of iconic things that we have in our state that people come and go, wow, didn't know there's that much to do in South Dakota. And so it's a constant education because our traveler is changing all the time. But we have this fun little thing too. The state started a few years ago, the passport programs, and there are 11 digital passport programs now where locals as well as visitors can go onto their site, and it's just you scan a QR code and it automatically pops up on your phone, and you get points when you stop at these little gems all over the state, and they're themed. I mean, each region, there's 4 regions in the state of South Dakota that do marketing underneath the Department of Tourism. I shouldn't say underneath. They are contracted to promote their regions. And then people like Angelica, they work with those regions to promote their local communities. So it's kind of that drill down. The state gets you to the state. Then the regions promote the region. And then the individual DMOs promote their areas. So we can get people moving all over the state. But these passports allow you to explore, like if you're going to stay in Watertown, there's all these places you can go visit there within an hour's drive of you before you leave for your next destination. And you can get points when you go to these places. And then you get some really fun swag when you get so many points.
Oh, okay.
That's how I got my
I
really
know,
cool
yeah.
travel bag.
Harmon's done most of them. I have some work to do, but there's some local stops too. The Redland Art Center, the Goss. There's a few other ones. I think some of the state parks are on there because I think there's a state park pass now too. And then with America 250, they have the Stars and Stripes passport. So some, you know,
Mhm.
patriotic themed stops or Americana. So
Wow. Is that anything that you wanted to touch on? Do you have any big 250th or any South Dakota news to share or anything? Or
You know,
sure.
I do know a few things. I was out in the western part of the state last week doing some free stuff. Um, Obviously, Mount Rushmore is looking, the Mount Rushmore Monument area. They're looking at doing fireworks on the 3rd of July,
Mhm.
and they have contingency plans in case, we don't get enough rain.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to burn anything down.
All right.
But they do have contingency plans built within the company that is doing the fireworks. And then Rapid City, I do know from the 1st through the 4th, they are doing, on one day, they're doing a large drone show. I believe that's on the 4th of July.
Yeah, it's yep.
And then they're doing a 4th of July parade. I'm not sure if that's on the 4th or the 3rd, but they have a lot of activities going on in downtown square. Sioux Falls is doing a 4th of July parade. I think a lot of people are bringing back parades. Yeah, you are not going to be able to turn around in the state and not run into something that is going to be a 250th.
Wow.
So there's a lot of activities taking place around the 4th of July, but a lot of them, they're throughout the year.
So
Go to the travel SD site,
there you go.
travelsouthdakota.com, because that's where most of the events are. Or go to your local DMO's website, Watertown, and visit Watertown.
Sure. Perfect. Well, what else did you want? Did you bring anything else that we should talk about before I wrap up or anything? I always got to make sure we didn't miss anything. This is a special event.
Yeah, no, I think
Have
we were
Carmen
good
in
on our end. I would just maybe plug just a reminder that we have our ribbon cutting and open house on Thursday at 4:00 at our new location in the Goss Opera House.
Mhm.
It is nice.
Yeah, it's
Very
we're pretty
nice.
happy.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, that'll be good. Maybe some appetizers.
Yeah,
Will
yep,
it be? Okay.
yep. There'll be some snacks.
Just wanted to check.
Yeah.
Special events like that.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
is there something else going on too? There.
Yeah, there's the candidate forum upstairs
Oh, that's
at the
right.
Goss after, or it kind of starts. I think it starts at 5:30, so our event won't quite be over, but it'll be a great opportunity to get people through our door, and then hopefully they'll sneak upstairs and take part in that.
Yeah, I knew there was something I wanted to go to and something I had to go to. So there, visit Watertown's ribbon cutting. I wanted to go to, but we got to go to those forums and cover them. So we'll be live streaming that too since we're on it. Carmen, anything else?
I was just going to ask,
Yeah.
like the hospitality trainings, you don't have one here.
We
this
don't
year.
have one here, but Aberdeen has one tomorrow. I believe it starts at 2. So that's a quick little trek. It's free. So you just got to load up your cars with people and go attend. Theirs is at, I believe it's a Capitol Theater. And then there's one in Sioux Falls on Thursday. So those are the closest ones to us, but they're free to attend and they're always great content. So
Wow.
Just reminders of how to be nice.
Yeah, it's better than a webinar.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure.
Nobody wants to fall asleep in any more of those.
They
So.
have an online training course too, but it's much more fun to see the people that they hired and bring them, and they're very energetic and very good at what they do.
Yeah, you get the vibes in the room. So
Yeah.
bring me up a little. Anything else that you want to touch on?
Just get out, see your state. I highly encourage residents to just travel and stay and see what we all have, because like I said, there are ambassadors, and it was good just to see what we have. It amazes me how many people have never been to Pier to the Capitol. So there's my challenge. Get out to Pier and see the Capitol.
I do have one last question. So you've traveled umpteen thousand miles, thousands. You've driven the same routes over and over and over again, of course. But do you find yourself still safely and responsibly kind of daydreaming a little and seeing the landscape and still getting kind of lost in that stuff, or finding something new as you're cruising that just catches you and, I really do like living here. Or,
I do.
I didn't know this was here.
I love it. And, when I'm not in a hurry, I do try to take the back roads so that I can revisit places that I haven't been in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Like today, I'm going to take 212 instead of jumping to the interstate or anything, because that's kind of dumb going down that way. But I haven't been on Highway 212 in a while, just cruising across the park. So I am looking forward to it. And if there's any highway patrolmen listening out there, please, I probably will be going past the speed limit.
Responsibly.
Responsibly,
Yeah.
yes. But I do. I am always, regardless of the time of year, I love this state.
Mhm.
It's just, it changes all the time. It's beautiful.
That is, I just live, well, we actually live in Castlewood, so 15 miles south, and I drive there's only 2 roads all the time, but just a couple weeks ago, I noticed they tore down a house, and like we stopped for a minute and we're like, did you see that house is gone?
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
different.
gosh. Yeah, what are they going to do? And then you just see that landscape a little differently now, even though it's been 30 years or whatever. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at it from the eyes of a visitor. It's like, I'm sure for us, we see it and sometimes don't even notice, but
ooh,
take the time to notice.
that's a good slogan. I like that. You should use that.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I like it. Okay, Angelica, are we good?
We're good. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. This was good.
It was
I really enjoyed the conversation. So thank you for coming in. Thanks for everything that you do. So,
Thank you.
you bet. I hope you enjoy your cruise today. So,
I should.
well, we'll get back to some music here on Northeast Radio SD, and we appreciate Visit Watertown for everything that they do.
I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend.